Hello friends, Editing Jason here. I just wanted to stop by to let you know ahead of time that due to the length of this episode, I decided to split it into 2 parts. Now don't freak out because you won't have to wait a whole week for part 2. I'm releasing both part 1 and part 2 today, meaning Friday. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. Alright, that being said, enjoy. Greetings, hi, and hello everyone. My name is Jason Petitfrère. I'm a speaker, I'm a podcaster, and my life's work is centered around allowing the world to meet the true you by helping you think, speak, and eventually live better than yesterday. We do this first by establishing a good reason why, a strong and powerful motivation to keep going when the going gets rough. Second, we need awareness and acknowledgement of what's holding us back. And third, we need scalable steps forward as a reliable bridge between who we are right now and who we need to be tomorrow and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. This, my friends, is how you go from stuck to thinking as, speaking as, and living as the true you. Hi friends, before we begin, I would like to put forth a disclaimer that this episode does touch on some heavier themes and darker subjects surrounding the difficulties of life. If for any reason whatsoever you don't feel comfortable or ready enough to continue listening, then please do not feel guilty at all about jumping to a different episode or maybe just turning on some music instead. But before you go, please allow me to say thank you. Your amazing sense of wonder and adventure, your desire for growth and transformation had at some point brought you here. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of you. That makes me so glad, and I truly hope that you've been blessed by our content thus far. Now, we're about to continue, so hopefully I'll catch you later. But don't forget to keep that gorgeous smile of yours on full display as much as possible. This world is in increasingly dire need of it and of you. All right, I'll give you a few seconds to tune out. So, to start us off, I've selected for your edification a super thought-provoking quote by author Karen Lamb. She said, "A year from now, you may wish you had started today." Let me read that again. A year from now, you may wish you had started today. Friends, when I first read this, my mouth dried up, and I had an expression of disgust on my face as if I had just leisurely taken my time to savor and sip the last pulpy bits of a 3 months expired warm carton of milk that's been sitting out in a toasty summer yard shed. See that? See how it progressively got worse as I continued describing the feeling? That's how it felt, literally in the flash of a moment, reliving so many times that I would look myself in the mirror and wish I had acted on my dreams or my goals a year ago. As you continue to consume and enjoy this content, you'll get to learn a decent amount about me, including but not limited to the fact that I used to be in the United States Navy. Having done my 5 years in the military, that sort of life is behind me now, but there's still one major reason for which, during many bathroom mirror moments, I stared at myself wondering why I hadn't acted sooner. I may not be the best at learning new complicated concepts very quickly, but I'm no dull knife either. Even better than my skills, though, I'm grateful for the heart that I was originally given and raised to maintain. I'm talking about that of a servant. I love to make people feel great about themselves, and I genuinely enjoy when people are smiling and happy, even more so when I had any part in making that happen. I also like to help people succeed, and sometimes that involves difficult conversations. With all that being said, I came in as an enlisted sailor, but had ample time and opportunity to convert to the ranks of an officer. Why is this important? Well, I wanted to do this primarily after a research paper I'd written as part of an essay contest. My paper was on the rising self-inflicted death rates in active duty service members, specifically in the Navy for obvious reasons. Contrary to popular belief, this isn't something that can unilaterally be blamed on poor leadership. However, if there is a rank that's capable of enacting the most change in the behemoth of a machine that is the Navy, it would be more possible within the officer ranks. That was my eventual goal. I knew I wasn't about to throw my pebble self at this issue and cause a tsunami, but rise higher, and I can make enough waves in my area of influence to start bringing some form of change that betters our organizational structure and cultural well-being, starting with caring for the mental health of sailors at all levels. This is something that I tried my best to do at my own rank at the time. Those deaths I'd mentioned weren't limited to junior sailors, by the way. They included senior enlisted as well as officers. At its core, this wasn't just a rank or just a military problem. This is an issue that humans encounter in any profession and at any level. I don't know about you, but I personally don't believe that you can run very far from the dangers of your own mind. As blessed as I was during my time in service to have worked under some amazing leaders, frankly speaking, I can only assume that the many sailors I'd read about, for one reason or another, weren't allowed the kinds of tools or support they needed most. Again, I wish to reiterate that the above topic has been researched, but the guess as to why is just that, my outside perspective guess. Regardless, we can all agree it to be a noble cause to work towards significantly reducing the amount of friends and families that have to cope with such loss. That has become a large part of my mission today. I may not be an active sailor anymore, but every time I speak to a young man or woman and point them to the sorts of mindsets, habits, and principles that better prepare them to brave hostile or high-stress environments, I am furthering the mission by bettering the missionaries. These are the beginnings of my tsunami. So, how am I walking out the true me in all this? Well, to answer that, I'd missed my opportunity to become an officer and work from within. But I've discovered a globe-sized source of motivation in the form of what I've come to believe is my God-given purpose. That is to get myself and those I can reach to change their self-perception into an identity that helps instead of hinders. That is my why. Next, what held me back at the time was a limiting mindset that placed too great a stock on the rank and influence of an officer. Because of that, with everything else I had going on at the time, I was literally intimidated by my own possible future. Imagine that. I'm sure none of you can relate. Letters of recommendation and glowing endorsements from my leadership were already prepared, drafted, written out, the whole shebang, because they saw it in me. What held me back at the time was me. And I had to become aware of that in order to get over myself. Ultimately, I had to realize that continuing to hold myself back because I was nervous was a selfish act of the highest degree. And before any of you disagree, consider this quote from Richard Watley, as it would be my response both to you and to that self-preservative voice in my head. He said, "A man is called selfish not for pursuing his own good, but for neglecting his neighbor's." Is it neighbors or neighbor's? Let's just go with that of his neighbor. We'll go with that. I'll read it again. "A man is called selfish not for pursuing his own good, but for neglecting that of his neighbor." Lastly, there are a ton of scalable steps that I've taken since then, but I'll point to the most obvious. Hi there. You, listening right now, are smack dab in the middle of just one of my scalable steps. Whether I pop off or not, you are the evidence and validation that this simple thing that I can do every week is able to go beyond my own mind and serve a life-giving purpose. Saying I want to have a podcast isn't scalable or a clear enough goal. Instead, deciding that I will post an audio episode of my cast consistently at least at least once a week for the rest of this year is a scalable and clear goal. Why? Because I can either increase or decrease the frequency based on what is a healthy limit to push at my current level, aka scalable. And also because there are easily identifiable criteria for both success and failure, aka clear goal. So that makes point number 3. Ultimately, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more direct way to operate as your true self in such a situation. I had to surround myself with more books, podcasts, and people that affirmed the calling on my life. That started to change my thinking. Based on the content I was ingesting, I was spewing limiting beliefs about my past rank less and less. This was an overtime change of my speaking. Now, because I both thought and spoke as someone who believed what he had to offer the world was worthwhile, I am now and will always be the proud author of a brand and vision that is focused on finally getting to lock eyes with the true you. That is my living. And don't freak out if you're listening right now with zero clue about anything even remotely resembling a purpose for your life. I'm even sure that many of you, like myself, have struggled or are currently struggling with even accepting the fact that your life has meaning. Believe me when I say that it most certainly does. I've discovered a very simple way to at least get you started on discovering your path to fulfillment and actually getting to wake up excited about the day. Hello, I hope you've been enjoying the listen so far. This marks the end of episode 2, part 1. If you would like to continue listening, feel free to hop on over to episode 2, part 2, otherwise known as the B-side of your cassette tape. I'll see you there.